Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to this channel. If this is your first time stopping by, I'm the Gift Cost Time by name, and you're welcome to this family. And to all my existing and returning subscribers, I want to thank you for your support. So today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to achieve this shirt dress I'm putting on. It's a well-detailed tutorial from the collar to the sleeve and to the dress. This is a closer view of the collar bean button at the top, and I'm going to open it up. So this is how it is when it's open up. You can decide whatever method you want it to be, and this is the sleeve part. All these will be explained in the tutorial. Kindly stay tuned as we proceed on this project. I'll be using 3 yards of this fabric, and I'll be using these buttons as well. Firstly, I'm going to be drawing the starting line. Next, I'm going to impute my shoulder measurement, divide by 2, and then I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. This is for the shoulder slant. Next, I'll be imputing my neck line measurement, which is 3 inches in width and 3 inches in depth. So after taking the width of the neckline, I'm going to connect it to that shoulder slant, which I drew earlier, as you can see from the video. So now I'm proceeding to the neck depth, which is 3 inches, and I'm going to give it a U-shaped neckline. Next, I'm going to be inserting my armhole depth, which is 7.5 inches, and then I'm going to connect it to that line. I'm just making sure that it's aligned to my shoulder. That's what I did there. So right now I'm connecting it to the shoulder slant. Next, I'm going to be imputing my bust measurement divide by 4, which is 9 inches, and then I'm going to extend the line. So now I'm going to be taking the midpoint of that 7.5 inches, and from that midpoint I'm going to go inward by ½ inch. And then next, I'm going to take my curve rule to connect all 3 points to give my armhole this shape. What I'm doing now, I'm taking my shoulder to bust measurement, which is 10 inches, and then my shoulder to my waist measurement, which is 17 inches. Next, I'm going to be drawing their lines horizontally, as you can see from the video. So next, I'm going to be imputing my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2, that is 4 inches. So that is the 4-inch point I'm marking right there. So I'll be taking my dart intake. But firstly, I'm going to be drawing this 4 inches mark right there. Now for my dart intake, I'm using 1½ inch. That is, I'm using 3/4 of an inch on both sides. Then I'm going to go down by 1 inch from the dart point. Now I'm going to connect it, as you can see, connecting the dart legs together. So right here, what I'm doing, I'm imputing my bust measurements divide by 4. Next, I'm going to impute my waist measurements divide by 4. After getting the value, I'm going to take this dart intake, which is 1½, and I'm also going to place it there as well. So what I'm going to do next is to connect these lines. Now I'm going to be taking my bust dart. The difference between my front and back is 2 inches. So that is what I'm taking, this side dart right there. So now I'm going to be cutting it out. And while cutting it out, I'm going to be leaving that space a little bit. You're going to see what I'm explaining. So while cutting this part, after reaching the armhole, I'm going to extend it, giving that extra space. I'm going to show you the reason why I give that extra space. So when I fold in my bust dart at the side right there, as you can see, so in order for it to align, for the side seam to align, you have to leave that space. So now you can go ahead to cut the side seam line, as you can see me doing. So I'm cutting it the way it ought to be. After cutting it, as you can see, the side seam aligned properly. So by the time I open this out, this is the space I left. So you need that on your fabric, because by the time you seal it up, it will align properly. so there won't be shortage. You need that extra allowance. But in this case, I'm going to be closing all my darts on the pattern paper because I want the top to be dartless. I want this dress, this outfit to be without any darts. So the darts will be inside. It will be on the pattern. So that's what I did in cutting out my fabric. I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric and I left allowances by the sides and the down parts and the neckline. So this is not on fold. This is the front part where we will have the buttons in front. So it's cut into two. So we'll proceed now to the back bodice. So I already drew my starting line. Next, I'm imputing my shoulder measurement, the same thing I did for that of the front. And I'm going to go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant. I'll be taking my neck measurement, which is 3 inches in width and 1 inch in depth. This is for the back, 1 inch in depth. So I drew the U-shaped neckline, and then now I'm connecting the neckline to the shoulder slant. Next, I'm taking my armhole depth, which is still 7.5 inches. So what I'm still doing here, just to make sure that it aligns to the shoulder measurements, which is 7 inches. Next, I'm going to be imputing my bust measurements. My bust divided by 4. Whatever value I get, I'm going to connect it to this armhole region. And then I'm going to extend the line as you can see me doing. So now I'll be taking my bust point, which is 10 inches. And then I'll be taking my waist measurement. So for my waist measurement for that of the back is 15 inches, not 17. Because the front is longer than that of the back. It's 15 inches, 2 inches different. So what I did, I extended the lines horizontally. Now I'm taking the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 4 inch. And then I'm going to extend it all the way to the chest line. The chest line is that armhole line region. So that is what I just did. So I'm going to I'm extending my dart all the way to that chest region. So I'm going to connect that 4 inches straight as you can see me doing. And I'll be taking my dart intake, which is 1.5 inches. That is 3/4 of an inch on both sides. And I'll be connecting the dart legs. Now what I'm doing here, I'm taking my bust measurements. Also, whatever dart intake is there, it's like less than half an inch. I'm imputing it in it because I'll be closing up the darts. Then I'll take my waist measurement, divide by 4. Whatever value I get, I'm going to include it right there. And then take my dart intake, which is 1.5, and place the value right there. And then next, I'm going to connect all 3 lines together. So what I'm going to do next is that's my armhole depth. I'm going to take the midpoint. Now I'm not going inward by 1/2 inch. I'm just going to connect it to that midpoint I drew. So this is the back pattern. This is how it's going to be, and I'm going to cut it off. So after cutting it off, I'm just aligning the line down there. It wasn't straight. So I'm also going to cut this unfold this back part because there is no zip at the back, neither is there button at the back, so it will be on fold. What I'm going to do right here is that I'm taking 1/2 inch and I'm going to connect it slants. This is just to avoid any bulginess at the back. We also used to do it when we add our zipper. So that's the same thing I'm doing over there. And I'm closing my dart intake. This is how I'm going to cut it on my pattern, or my fabric, I mean. So I've gone ahead to cut it on my fabric. I added the allowance I needed at the down part and at the sides as well. So this is my back bodice on my fabric. Next, I'm going to be bringing the front bodice of the fabric and I'll be attaching it with that of the back. So I'll be attaching it by the shoulder and also at the side seam. Now from the cutting of our pattern, the front was longer. So by the time you close the side dart, you will see that it will align properly with that of the back. the two side will match. This is what I'm explaining, and this is it. Both the front and that of the back we align. Now for the skirt part, I have a detailed tutorial on how to cut a circle flare. This is a half circle that I did. So what I did, for my waist measurement, I multiply my waist times 2 because I want a little gathers. So this waist measurement is times 2 of my waist, the waist measurement I cut for this skirt part. So I'm going to gather it using my thread and needle. So for the down part, because it's cut in flare, I'm going to use my bias to turn it over. Now I've already joined the bodice together, both the front and that of the back, as you can see. Next, I'm going to be attaching it to the skirt part. Now, while attaching it to this gathered flare skirt, I'm going to be leaving ½ inch away. I'm not going to I'm not going to add my gathers from the tip. No, I'm going to leave that ½ inch away. This is because of the placket we're going to be adding in front. So now I'm going to attach the gathers to that of the bodice all through till I get to the other edge, as you can see me doing from the video. So this is how I'm going to sew all through. So next, this is it. I'm done sewing it. I'm done attaching the bodice to that of the skirt. So this is the outcome. Next, for the placket, I'm going to measure. So from that tip of the bodice all the way to the down part, which is 41, I'm going to add extra. I'm going to be cutting my button plackets. So get a long strip, and in this long strip I already add my interface to it. So now this long strip, it's I'm using 4 inches for the width. Now for the length, it's more than 41 inches. You know, we calculated 41. I'm adding extra. I'll still cut it off, so I'm going to show you. So next, I'm going to fold it into 2, as you can see me doing, and then iron. So this is it after ironing. This is one part, not the 2 parts. So after ironing, unfold is 2 inches. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to place it to sew it. So right here, I'm going to take the dress, the wrong side of the dress, and one part of the button placket, and I'm going to be sewing with ½ inch all the way from the tip all the way to the hem part. You can also use the front part of the dress. I'm going to tell you why I always use the wrong side of the dress. I'm going to explain. Now, when you get to the edge part, you're going to fold the button placket, as you can see me doing, before sewing with your ½ inch. You are going to sew it. So now, if you are using the right side of the fabric, I use the right side for this. You are going, after sewing this ½ inch, this is how it's going to look like. Next, you are going to take the other folded part, and then you are going to fold it in and sew it together. So the illustration of the video actually explains it much better. Just follow the video and you understand what I'm trying to explain. Now you are going to sew it all through. So why I prefer you sewing from the wrong side, because you are going to see your stitches very well. But if you sew from the right side, when you are sewing the other parts, you are not going to see how your stitches is going to be smooth. So this is the end result of what you are going to get. So you are also going to do the other side as well. So next we'll proceed in making of the collar. Now for the collar, after adding your button placket, you can now measure the whole neckline region. So you're starting your measurement from that placket. You calculate all the way till you get to the other button plackets you're going to measure. So you will get the figure. You have to be careful because it's needed. You need the right measurement. So what I got was 19.5 inches. So now you're going to take your fabric, a long piece of fabric. You are going to take more than 19 inches. Now for the width, I'll be using 12 inches because I'm going to fold this into 2 and again. So you need 12 inches. Now for the length, you need more than the 19.5 inches which you measure. I also use a interface for it. You can use hard collar stay, but I don't want it to be that hard. That's why I'm using interface. Next, you are going to fold it into two, as you can see me doing, and fold it again, so it's folded into four. So now that folded part, I'm going to take my measurements divided by 2, what I got, the 19.5 divided by 2, and I'm going to be adding 1 inch for my sewing allowance. That is what I did right there. So now from that sewing allowance, I'm going to be going upwards by 2 inches. So I'm going to mark it and then draw a straight line to connect it from that sewing allowance, not from my actual measurements, from the extra 1 inch I gave. So I'm going to take 2 inches upwards. Now from that 2 inches upward, I'm going to go inward by 1 inch. So it's going inward by 1 inch. You're going to see the connection. This is how it will be. Now from that point, I'm going to go again 2.5 inches upwards from that 2 inches mark we gave earlier. So that is 2.5 inch upwards. Now I'm going to connect that 2.5 inch upwards with a straight rule so that it's straight. The line is straight. From that 2.5 inch upwards, I'm going to connect it with a slant rule. So we have like a triangle there. So I'm going to connect it to that 1 inch inward we came in. Next, I'm going to take this other part. I'm going to be measuring 1/3 of an inch. It's not up to 2 inch. So I'm going to connect the lines together. So it wouldn't be a straight line because that first part is 2 inches and this one is 1/3. Then this other part I went upwards by 2.5 inches. I'm going to go upwards by 2 inches on this other side. So I'm going to connect it with a straight line as well. So this line, when you look at it, it's not going to be straight because there are two different figures. So right here at this edge, I'm going to give it a curve. It's not supposed to be a sharp edge. And then after that, I'm going to proceed to cut it out. So I'm just going to follow all the marked points I did, and then I'm going to cut it off. Now from that curve edge, this part, I'm going to go upwards by 0.5 inches. That is half an inch. And then I'm going to draw a slant rule just to connect it because I'm going to be cutting it off. So after doing that, I'm going to open up our collar, and then you will notice that some parts is still sealed. That is the midpoint. I'm going to use my scissors to just open it up. So now we have two opening. So this is how I'm going to sew it. That edge, I'm going to start my sewing from this curve all the way to that edge and sew all through. This other part will be open. It will be open because that is the part I'm going to attach to the dress. After sewing, I'm going to notch all these edges. It's important so that you'll be able to turn it over. You have to notch every part. So I'm done notching all these parts. Now I'm going to open it from that opening that I told you earlier we're not going to sew. So I'm going to open all points. You can use your scissors to help you to push out all these pointy corners, the edge parts, so that they'll be more pronounced. So you need your scissors or whatever tool you are using. So I'm also going to do the other parts of the collar as well, and when we are done with it, I'm going to iron it. So this is how it is. This is the collar we'll be using. So I'll go ahead to iron it to be straight. So I'm done ironing it. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold this collar into two, and then I'm going to notch the midpoint. So I'm going to use my scissors to get the midpoint. I'm going to notch it. After doing that, I'm also going to take the main dress, the dress itself. I'm going to fold it as well into two, that is the back region. I'm going to connect the shoulder to shoulder together and get the midpoint of the back. After getting the midpoint of the back, I'm also going to notch it as well. After doing that, now I'm going to be placing this collar on the dress. So like I said earlier, I always start from the wrong side of the dress to start sewing. I'll be sewing with 1/2 inch. So I'll place one part of the collar and sew all the way till I get to the bottom placket. So I'm done sewing it. So I sew from the wrong side. So this is how it is. Next, what I'm going to be doing, this is the right side now of both the dress, the main dress, and the collar. I'm going to be folding it with 1/2 inch. I'm going to fold it. I will use my pin to help me, and then I'm going to sew all the way through. So I'm done sewing it, and this is the outcome of it. So I've attached the collar to it. So this is how it looks like. And as you can see, it's neatly finished. So next, I'm just going to fold it in. This is how it looks like. I'm going to be adding my button and buttonhole. So now, to make the collar more defined like that of a t-shirt, I'm going to be taking 1 inch and I'm going to be sewing a straight stitch all the way to the other end. This is just to give it that t-shirt collar like. So by the time you fold it in, it will align properly. Next, we'll move on to the sleeve making. Now I have a well-detailed tutorial on how to draft a sleeve pattern. It's already on my YouTube channel. I'm going to drop the link in the description box. Now for this sleeve, this is a short sleeve. The main actual video was not captured, so I did a mini demonstration. This is not my measurements, so I'm going to be explaining. Now you will take your sleeve, whether long or short, and fold it into two to get the midpoint. As you can see me doing on the video, I went ahead to notch the midpoint. Now for the parts facing the back side, because the sleeve has a front part and the back part, so this is the back part. So I'm going to be taking out the allowance I left. Now from that allowance part till that midpoint, I'm going to measure, and whatever value I get, I'm going to divide it into two. So this is the part I'm going to slash open. Now I'm going to make a dart right there. So I'm going to open it. I'm using 2 inches for this because the sleeve is small, but on my main fabric I used 4 inches. So I'm going to slash open it, as you can see from the video. Now I have 2 strips which I'm going to be explaining. For the smaller one, the width is measured 1.5 inches, and for the bigger one, the width is measured 3 inches. Now the length will be determined by the slashed you opened, so that is 2 inches. So this is how I'm going to be folding the smaller one. I'm going to fold it in a bias format. The reason for the bias format is because I'm going to be piping one of the edges I slashed open. So that is the reason I'm folding it in such manner. So I'm going to be showing you the part, and this part I'm piping is the part facing towards the back side of the sleeve. So this is how I'm going to sew it all the way down. So but first I'm going to slash open them a little bit for it to be easy for me. So I've taken the sleeve to my machine points and I'll be illustrating it for you. So that part I said I'm going to open a bit, so I had to zoom it for you to see. So as you can see from the video, it will be easy for me to be able to pipe this edge. So now I'm going to fold the upper part, as you can see me doing on the video, and then fold the 2 edges and then fold it again. So the edge will be in between, it will be sandwiched in between, and I'm going to take my sewing machine to sew it all the way down. After sewing, I'm going to be cutting off the excess. It's better to have an excess than for you to have a shortage. So this is how it looks like, both front and the back part. Now I'm going to be working on the other edge, and I'll be using the bigger strip, which is measuring 3 inches in width. Now I'll be dividing that 3 inches equally into 3 parts. As you can see me doing on the video, I'm going to be folding it to have that crease line. So I went ahead to iron it. So this is how yours should be like. Next, to form that triangle pointy part, I'm going to go down by 1/2 inch and slash over them at the 2 edges like an angle, but it's not compulsory. Yours must have that triangle shape. It can also be a square, whatever means you want. So after slashing it like this in this format, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold it, as you can see me doing on the video. The video explains it much better. Next, I'm going to fold it again in a triangle format, and then fold the other edge again in a triangle format. So at the end, you have that pointy triangle part which is folded on all edges. So this is how yours should look like. So what I'm going to do at the back, I'm going to be using my hemi gum to put them in one place so that it doesn't move out of shape. So I've gone ahead to do that, and this is how it is. So I'll be working with this now on the other edge. So I'll go ahead to bring my sleeve, and this is how I'm going to be sewing it. To determine how long this placket will be, it will be 1 inch above the initial length we cut the dart legs. So what I'm saying in essence is that the triangle part will be 1 inch above it. You are not going to cut extra of the dart legs. So I'm going to teach you how to join it together. So I'm taking the wrong side of the sleeve and the right side of this placket, but first of all, I'm going to notch it by the edge in order for me, it will enable me to sew it better the same way I did for the first part. So like I said earlier, I'm going to take the wrong side of the sleeve. I'm placing the wrong side of the sleeve and the right side of this placket, and I'm going to sew it together till I get till that point I notch inward. So I'm going to merge them together. When I get to that point, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to show you the next step I will be taking. So I'm done sewing it, and this is how it is. So next, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be folding it like this. And how I'm going to sew it, I'm going to follow the triangle. I'm going to follow the triangle and sew, stitch it all the way. And when I get to this other edge, I'm going to stitch it all the way down. But this other part, I'm going to stop there, right there in my stitching. So I'm done sewing it, and this is the outcome. So this other part is open. So this is the back. So next, what I'm going to be doing from that part where we have this smaller one we piped, I'm going to be sewing a straight stitch across. After that, I'll be sewing this other edge, and I'll be sewing a straight stitch down. I'm not going to be merging it with the other parts. It's going to be open as well. So what I'm doing, I'm sewing the stitch across. Next, I'll be sewing this other part. I told you the edge, I'm going to be stitching it as well. So I'm done with this part of the sleeve. I'm going to be cutting off my thread, and this is the outcome of it. So this is it. It's still open. Next, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be merging the 2 edges together of the sleeve, and I'm going to be sewing with the allowance I gave earlier for the work. So next, I'm going to be opening it up. So this is how it looks like. So the next step I'm going to be taking, I'm going to measure the round sleeve. This is the base part. This is where our button will be placed. So after measuring whatever measurement I get, I'm going to be taking, for this, because it's a smaller part, I'm using 4 inches in width, and for the length I'm using 8.5 inches. But what I measure for the sleeve is 7 inches. I'm going to be adding my interface, so I've gone ahead to iron my interface. Next, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be sewing these two edges together. I'll fold my fabric the way you see me illustrating on the video and sew the edges. Now these two edges will be the same length the round sleeve I took, that is 7 inches. I'm going to cut off every excess at the side because you don't need it. So by the time I measure, as you can see from the video, it's 7 inches. This is not my round sleeve. This is a mini demonstration. Next, I'm going to be bringing the right side in front, and then I'll iron it up. Now what I'm doing, these two open parts of the sleeve, I'm going to be taking one edge. You can use any of both sides. So what I'm going to be doing, the same way I've been explaining, I'm going to be starting my sewing from the wrong side of the sleeve, and then I'm going to sew all the way till I get to the other end, the other edge point. So I'm done sewing. This is how it is. So what I'm going to be doing next, I'm going to flip it over, as you can see me doing. Next, I'm going to be folding another 1/2 inch inward, and I'm going to be sewing it. I'm going to be sewing a straight stitch all the way. So I'm done with it, and this is how the sleeve is. Next is to create your buttonhole and insert your button, and this is how I came about the sleeve for this outfit. So you can make yours long or short sleeve. Next, I'm going to proceed to the belt making. So for the belt, all you need is a long strip of fabric, which is ×3 of your waist measurements. And for the width, I'll be using 4.5 inches for it. So next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold it into 2. As you can see me doing, I'm going to sew the edge and then sew all the way till I get to the midpoint of my measurement. And I'm going to do the same thing at the other end, sew the edge and sew all the way to the midpoint and leave that midpoint open. So this is what I'm explaining. So I already sewed the edge and the side and left the midpoint open. Now this opening will allow me to unfold it to bring in the right side of the fabric outward. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull out the right side of the fabric and iron. So after doing it, this is how it is. So next, what I'm going to do, that opening, I'm going to be using my hemi gum to attach it together, or you can sew yours. The choice is all yours. And I've come to the end of this tutorial. If you find this tutorial helpful, do not forget to like and subscribe. Bye.